So, what are you going to ask me today?
I'm going to start off with obviously, just being myself and talking about why I feel so honored to be here. And I'm into integrative medicine, so I handle like hundreds and hundreds of cancer patients around the world. And before I met them, my success rate, when I say success rate, was probably, I was doing okay. When I added the meditation part, I completed the cycle. So I believe today I'm in a complete cycle. Of course, there's always scope for things to get better. But I'm realizing how I cannot treat the physical self without involving the emotional self and the heart. And that's what's made the difference. And that's just not my way of seeing it. I have oncologists who obviously do the chemo for my patients, and they say, Luke, when your patients come, there's a vast difference in how they handle chemo compared to patients who, are not meditating, are not doing nutrition and putting things together. So I'm a firm believer that there's no magic pill. Meditation alone is not going to cure you. Nutrition alone is not going to cure you. And of course, we know medicine alone is not going to cure you. So how do we take everything together in an integrative manner and put it together? And although I'm into nutrition and integrative medicine, I'm seeing that the most powerful drug is the mind and the heart. Because you can put the best nutrition in someone's body, but if the mind or the heart's messed up, it doesn't work. It doesn't absorb. You can't absorb nutrition if there's cortisol, which is a stress hormone in the body. So first we got to calm them, prepare them for nutrition. Like a surgeon prepares you for surgery, we got to prepare them for nutrition. And that's where heartfulness has come in and, fill that gap. And honestly, it's not just the tool of meditation that I've come across with heartfulness, it's the people around. So it's like, it's there. It's not just something, because I am skeptical. When you're in medicine, you're skeptical about everything around you. Whether these are quick fixes, whether people are here to really change people, or is it money making? And, it's great that heartfulness is free and all of those things, but always I look to see, how is it impacting the person, at the end of it all. And today we have clients all over the world, from Paris to, you name it, and we managed to connect them with trainers. And it's changed their lives.
They all practice meditation now?
They all practice meditation. There are some who are resistant, and I know that because we set up the appointment and they keep pushing it off. So we leave them. And then it's my job and my team's job to counsel them that, when the treatments are not going through well, we say, see, you're doing everything well. The missing path is this. Because I noticed if you force them, they develop not an aversion as such, but everyone has them, their perceptions towards meditation. And most people think, especially the wealthy people, I have some of the wealthiest people in the world, and I have people from villages. So I get to see the difference in their thinking. The wealthy people will first use their power and money to get the best treatments and best hospitals around the world. They'll do the full round, America, London, everything, and then they'll come back and they'll say, okay, we need to change our path. And then they'll open up to meditation, they'll open up to nutrition, they'll open up to everything else. So our vision is, why not do it together? Have a fancy hospital, have a fancy doctor, but why not start the journey together? Because you cannot separate the mind and the body. It's impossible. I've seen it happen. I was shocked when I had yoga and vipassana teachers come to me with cancer. And for me, it shook my faith in meditation a little bit, because I would always look up to them and say, oh, you're meditating, which means, you're healthy. And then I realized that you can be evolved in your emotional self, but you've neglected the physical self. And some people are evolved in the physical self, but they've neglected the emotional self. So it cannot work. That much I'm sure of. And then I read the book also, that you've written. Fantastic book. I've been told that you're a pharmacist who speaks about you highly. Besides everyone here is Pierre in Dubai. So he's become a close friend. So basically he keeps talking to me about, how you were into, pharmacies across the US. And we need medicines. It's as simple as that. But we also have to understand our body has its own pharmacy of its own. And it's got to be tapped out in terms of hormones and everything.
Once, I had a pharmacy interview.
Okay.
Some journal came up because of some patients recommended go interview this pharmacist. I was practicing then in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, okay.
And I spoke at length about meditation. And in the journal, they typed medication. Medication is important. Medication is important. Medication is important. They spoiled my article. So they just T to C. They thought being a pharmacist, I'm only talking about medications. So But it only shows how closely related these two terms are, medication and meditation.
Right. Yeah,
They,
but today I can use meditation as my medication for people. If I,
exactly.
because a lot of people look for quick fixes. After I tell them holistic, they love it. But they say, but just write something. Give me something which is like, they want that kind of medication because the mind believes it's going to give you a quick fix. It's, what our mind has picked up over the years, through social media, through what people say. So there's a lot of layers that, like in your book you've mentioned, they have to come out one by one, one by one. It's a long process, but someone has to start somewhere. So
it's interesting. Medication, food, etc.
Yeah.
In our understanding, which has been passed on thousands of years, they believe, and there is some sort of comfort also in believing this, that we have a physical body, right? When I'm looking at things with my eyes,
Right.
let's add one more element to it. Suppose if your eyes are compromised and you're wearing glasses, right? And when you are able to see better with glasses, are glasses enough? Even with the compromised eyesight, you still need that compromised eyesight, even when you want to wear the glasses. You still need this. And behind this thing, let's see, if my vision center is damaged inside the brain, and there is something behind also, I may see something, but my mind interprets it the way it wants, the way it is trained.
Right.
Right? And it starts judging. Judging again plays another element into the picture. I see with some instruments, but instruments are useless if I don't have even a damaged eyesight. I need something at a physical level. If I can take care of it, still I need to take care of the inner eye that perceives the thing, the brain behind the eyesight, the mind behind the interpretation, intelligence behind its discrimination,
Right.
and ego to make a decision, this is right or wrong. So, we have understood thus far, physical body is a must. We must, when it is compromised, eyesight is poor, if I can fix my eyesight with medications, drugs, maybe you have glaucoma, maybe you have conjunctivitis. You need prescription drugs,
Okay.
right? But let us say you have some altogether a different problem where you are seeing things and interpreting it differently because you have a mental problem. Prejudiced mind. There is a beautiful story in one of these Sufi stories. They're beautiful. They have beautiful parables. They come up with ordinary stories and they portray a beautiful outcome out of these parables. One of them is this, Junaid, one of the greatest Sufi master. He had a king visiting him and he wanted to become his disciple. I want to become your disciple, you are so famous. So Junaid goes on refusing him, said, no, you're not ready yet, you're not ready yet. But being a king, he forced his way to it. Then Junaid said, okay, let us wait 1 week. After 1 week, I will initiate you to my system. Junaid was a smart guy. He created a scenario. And he went across the river from his town and where his family was living there. Under one tree, he invited someone to come there. He sat there with her, started having, those, and he kept beautifully laid glasses and, the cups, and they both sat together and spent almost 2-3 hours enjoying each other's company, pouring that liquid out of the jar into a glass and feeding each other. This king was watching from the other side. What the hell is this man doing here? He's with a woman. And he claims himself to be a master. And not only he's sitting with the woman, now it's all late evening. God knows what else they are doing. They're drinking, so he barges in. What sort of a master are you? He starts cursing him. Then Junaid says, forgive me, my lord, you are the king. I told you you are not ready for this. You have too much of a prejudiced mind. He tells the lady, please remove your veil and show who you are. That was his mother. So it's a beautiful story how mind interprets things. You have seen it correctly. Your eyes are beautiful. Yeah, they told you all kinds of things, but your prejudiced mind interprets things the way you are exposed to.
Right.
So that's where I think many other practices, inner practices, helps us not to be judgmental.
Right.
Final conclusion is never good in anything.
I think that's a great lesson because, the same example of the eyes, I've always noticed how the French eat their food. They have a fantastic diet, and French are some of the healthiest people in the world in terms of physical, mental, emotional, and they'll have butter, they'll have their croissants every morning, their coffees, all of that stuff. And then I look at the Swiss. I travel very often to Switzerland to meet people, and I notice that it's staple in their diet. They have about 6 to 8 pieces of chocolate every day. It's their culture, and not dark chocolate. In fact, my Swiss friends tell me we made dark chocolate for the world who thinks it's very healthy. So we saw a business option and we make dark chocolate, but we eat milk chocolate and it doesn't impact them. But when I look at India, people are scared to eat one piece of chocolate because they attach that one chocolate with weight gain, diabetes, all the fears which are in the mind. Okay, and the same issues, the same kind of people, human beings are eating that food in a different way with a different mindset. The French enjoy their food passionately. They don't see food as an enemy. They don't see food as fear. And likewise with the Swiss, the way they said chocolate. So sometimes we just tell them, change your perception to the food that you're eating. You can decide whether the food's going to make you fat, cause diabetes, cause cancer, or you can decide that food, even if it's unhealthy, is going to feed you nutrition. Your body is going to be able to digest it the right way. And we have these groups of people who start eating guilt-free and changing their perception, adding a little bit of gratitude, even if the food is not that healthy. It could be a samosa. And that group of people, they have no digestive problems, no gas, no acidity. It's just their mindset towards the food they're eating. It's so unbelievable.
True, so true.
So like in India, diabetes, everyone equates the disease diabetes with sugar. It's far from sugar. People don't get diabetes because they have sugar. They get diabetes for several reasons. Sedentary lifestyle, overeating, inflammation in the body. And then they look at only sugar levels when they have diabetes. They don't look at the pancreas, which is the organ that produces insulin. Why isn't my organ producing enough of insulin? So they're focused on parameters on a piece of paper rather than going to the root cause and saying, I have inflammation in my pancreas because I'm acidic. If I reverse that, maybe I'll start producing more insulin or my cells will utilize it the right way. So I love your idea of the whole spectacle kind of a thing. And medicine, absolutely. We use pharmacies all the time for medicine. But I always say that medicine should be used as a crutch. Use it to get you through, but get to the root cause using, your heart, your mind, make lifestyle changes.
Perfect.
And I love what you wrote in the book, about karma, because that's a question that I really had for you. Because I'm in a line where I see patients today, a week later, they've passed on, 4th stage basically, terminally in. A lot of clients, Daaji, they keep asking me, is this my karma? They accept. And for me, someone accepting death, is the end. That is the death sentence. The fact that you accept that my cancer is going to kill me. So at that point, heartfulness comes into a big way into helping them meditate and look within. But at that point, when I'm facing them and I get to this question, when they say, oh, it's my karma, so this is how it's going to be. What are your thoughts on the relation of karma to disease? Many people think I've gotten cancer because I did something bad. It's a karma. I think against that. Not against that. I don't think it's the reason. At this point, you have a disease in your body and we got to figure out the best way. But how would you explain that to people suffering from disease who accept that this is my karma, so I must suffer?
Well, what would you say where millions of Jews were killed in the Hitler camp? Was it the karma of every single human being who was exposed to that torture? Not really. It's an act of a brutal man. I'm giving you the extreme example.
Right.
Diseases. You are eating out of obedience to your wife. You don't want to displease her, and you go on eating whatever she's making. Now you are not designing your destiny. In a way you are, because you're obedient husband. But the crux here, and what I'm trying to convey, that it is not only our karmas, individual karmas that play part, but there are third-party influencers also that change the history of human race, that change the individual lifestyle of an individual person in order to compromise and arrive at peace. We need to compromise in some way. But going to an extreme of all the time being obedient in certain situations where someone loves potatoes all the time and you go on cooking potatoes and the whole house is enjoying potatoes, fine. But what happens to the health ultimately to the whole family? It's a consequence of one person's decision. In Ayurveda, the traditional way, my father, by the way, was an Ayurvedic doctor. My mother was not. But she was trained to cook, what not to cook, especially in certain seasons, what not to feed in the morning, what not to feed at night, what two different foods cannot be combined, on what days you'll need to fast, what days during the certain seasons when it is raining, what foods to avoid, what extra food to give during winter, what extra drinks to be given, things like lemonade, lemon juice, mossami juice, during summertime, the increased doses. So our wiser lady of the house who is well trained, who is exposed to tradition, he did not go to a college. But when you're exposed to the wisdom of the family, wisdom of our elders, wisdom of our grandparents, when this wisdom bridge is broken, we lose a lot in the process. But a lady of the house can, like a vaccine can prevent many diseases in the house, house members, by cooking the right stuff.
Right.
Avoiding right unnecessary elements. Creating a routine. Not just what food, when is also important. Right doses, quantity is also important. And with what attitude? Let us say if your mother throws food, hey, you stupid fool, eat this neem rice, it's good for your health. Even if she gives you chocolate with anger, it won't help. So attitude also does matter in the whole equation. I'll share with you one beautiful experiment many years back. I don't know which year. Dr. Paulo, he was good at conducting experiments of serious and coming to serious conclusions. But his experiments were all very simple, not million-dollar projects. Simple experiments. One is very famous, which is conditioning of a dog, selective conditioning of a dog, where he would feed the dog, and before feeding dog, he would ring the bell. Right? So he created a kind of state of mind in the dog, created a reflect action in him. So each time he would ring the bell in future, the dog would come running for food. And as he is running for food, he is salivating and drooping saliva all over while running. It's a beautiful experiment. Same Dr. Paulo, he conducted beautiful experiment which is applying today very heavily for us in our discussion on attitude during the time when we partake of food. That experiment was like this. He trained the cat. And each time cat consumed food, he would measure the acid secretion in the stomach. He He could see it through the X-ray pattern, and oh, it's the juice now in the stomach. Now, once while feeding the cat, just about to feed the cat, right? He brought in the dog, barking, wow, 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 coming, and cat witnessed this, and she is about to consume the food. With the barking noise, she got so scared. The secretion which was about to start, it held up. See? So the fear element, while eating, created a havoc in juice secretion, which would have digested the food.
Yeah.
For hours, the organ remains threatened. Imagine people arguing at dinner table.
It affects their
Lot
digestion.
Of anger at that time. Per contra, when you are prayerfully in a meditative way, both are extreme examples I'm citing, and where there is a lot of fights and anger. It doesn't happen every day. And this aspect, where you're eating in a very peaceful way, where you're not even aware of your peace, you're not even aware of your enjoyment, you are just being yourself in the family, with the family, you're partaking the food together. There's joy when you witness it. So such habits, I think, help us a lot, you see. Nowadays what happens, children poking the phone, watching the TV or cartoons, having their cereals early in the morning. They watch Looney Tunes early in the morning. Why? It's mother's fault actually.
Right.
So that they don't bother mother early in the morning because she's busy doing whatever. You have started a new trend. In order to keep quiet your children, you are adopting a bribery method. Let me show you the cartoons. Play with this toy, play with my phone, play with this game while eating, so that child would cooperate. But you see the effects of all this electromagnetic radiation on plants. Have you come across one experiment? I think it's very famous. You Google effect of electromagnetic radiations on growth of plants. Experiment conducted by Danish school in Denmark by children. They exposed this growth of various grains. They're all same conditions. So one same condition in the sense, but with one variable in each situation. One variable was three scenarios, rather, or four scenarios. One was with the Wi-Fi. Plant growth exposed to Wi-Fi. Plant growth exposed to Bluetooth radiation. And plant growth affected in a meditative environment, or where they are doing their traditional worship. And fourth is the controlled environment. They take mung or some, and they allow the sprouts to grow. All four conditions are same. They maintain four conditions the same way, with one variable. And you'll find amazing results. If someone is a teacher, they can run this experiment for all children. Let all children participate in that experiment. At home also it can be done very simply. Take 4 different saucers and put in each 4 plates you put water, same amount of grains in all of them, and expose them to these 4 conditions: Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, normal, and where you do your puja or where you do your worship. Study it after a week, take the photographs, all of them put together and take a photo and see which one is which. Let children do it. So children can participate in this experiment, observe, and also develop the capacity to decide it for themselves. See, I'm worried about something, I'm angry about something, I'm irritated as a consumer of the food. The person who is cooking is also irritated, angry. This goddamn fellow doesn't give me my salary properly, and then he throws something and give to the customer. The laborer who are carrying the grains or vegetables, they're also bitter about the whole thing while carrying it. Farmer who is cooking, who is producing it also, is worried about his livelihood and he has no choice but to sell it at a low price. You see the chain reaction of emotions carried by the food that we consume today. Again, I'm citing extreme scenarios.
Right.
It doesn't happen every day like this. Maybe one step is better than the other. But everything does affect us. Does that mean I should stop eating? No. There are always solutions. Best is when we become meditative, when we center ourselves, then it is easy to nullify such impacts. Let's say someone who is cooking touches the food with so much of love and care, as if this food is being prepared to serve Lord Jesus Christ, or to serve Lord Krishna, or to serve the deity of their choice, or for your beloved. There's so much of love is involved, and when that person consumes it, I think it can remove a lot of spiritual defects in you.
I agree. I want to add a small story over here as well. So there was this group that realized that whenever they eat, pastries or cookies from normal shops and stuff like that, they would put on weight, they would feel unhealthy if they have a normal piece of cake. Whenever they go home to visit their parents, okay, and their mom is baking a cake, like she would do it every weekend, and they would have this tea time and have that cake and tea, the things that we avoid today. The experience of having that homemade cake, which still has sugar and everything in it, the experience around that whole family thing, the memory of your childhood, it's a pleasant experience. You're eating in that environment and it digests so differently from the food which is called fast food today, which you just buy a cake, it's processed, highly processed. The job of the person selling it is to sell more. So exactly what you're saying about the environment and the intention behind it are so different. And I'll give you my personal example. When I go back home to Goa, my mom has like a high tea, and there'll be cakes and pastries and all of that stuff. And I eat it in that environment without any fear, and it just doesn't impact your body at all. But when you come back to the city, if you try to do that for even 1 week, you start feeling lethargic and full of sugar and the body's toxic. So I love your point, and I want to bring that back to even children today where, even I keep telling parents, do not force your children to eat food. Your moms will be running after their children with a plate trying to force feed them. I'm like, there's no point. Even if you succeed, the body is not going to digest and absorb, and you're making your child create an aversion towards that food. Then they see meal times as a fear time. So they already start making excuses before dinner. I'm not feeling well, my stomach's hurting. So I guess, what you're saying about creating that environment, and if we can't create it for people around, at least we can create it for ourselves before our own meals.
So true. It's a tricky business. Mother, correct, she has to go to work.
Yeah.
Child has to be sent to nursery or to kindergarten by some time. He, first of all, is, not waking up in time. You want to force him to get up. You want to force him to brush his teeth. You have to force him to take bath. You have to force him to eat quickly so that the bus may not go away. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll have to change your routine. Instead of going to work, you'll have to drop the child and then go to work. That creates problem with the boss.
Right.
That life becomes so full of tension. So what happens? Mothers or father, they end up pressurizing the one that can be pressurized. Children. Force feed them. Or else no cartoons. No games. I will not buy you this, or I will not buy you that. If you eat this, I'll give you that. All bribery
Right.
starts. And I think it's time to address such matters amongst people in general, in society today. What matters the most? You have finished, you have improved your career, you have risen to a high level, especially mothers. But what happens to your children in the process?
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong rising, but imagine the price we are paying.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I'm all for women empowerment and, for them having ambition. And, but I feel they have to weigh the consequences and the costs at which it comes. And I know there are successful women who can maintain their children and maintain their careers and maintain their health.
Yes.
Everything together. And for me, that's success. It's not just becoming a CEO or becoming an entrepreneur and achieving, a career success at the loss of everything else. And that's not just for women. That's for men at the same time. But, how do you put that balance together? Which is why I feel it's important for everyone at some point, man or woman, in that space of meditation to find out what they truly want and why they're doing what they do. So, I look after some of the richest people in the world, and when I ask them, what was your intention about building such a big empire? Most of them don't know. And when we go deeper into conversation, because over time these people have become friends, they were like, our parents said it's successful if you make so much of money and you have this designation. So they equated success as a child to getting that managing director designation, no matter what, even if they're unhappy or happy about it. So I really think it starts at a level like you're saying, if we don't know why we're doing what we're doing, we follow what the world is showing us, that success is defined by your designation. Success is defined by the kind of car you drive, or the houses you have, or how many exotic holidays you can do in a year. And that's not an issue, but as long as you can balance success, like you said, without losing out on the children. Like I have parents who bring their children to me with eating disorders, and the only disorder is, how it's going to be fixed is, the mother should feed the child, not 3 servants. The mother has to be there. And that's the only issue that has to be fixed. And they're bringing fancy tests from the US and saying, oh, is there an allergy, is there intolerance? I said, there's really nothing wrong. That bonding of food between the mother, that's why they breastfeed. That initial bond, if it doesn't happen, there are enough of case studies showing how a child faces anxiety separation if they're not fed. A mother dies at birth and, the child is not immediately breastfed. So that connection gets broken the moment they stop breastfeeding and a nanny or a servant starts feeding the child. And I'm not saying that this is, it's happening a lot. And I feel these are little things that have to change in order to, put the whole holistic healthcare model into place.
Some approach is required. It's not an impossible problem to solve.
Yeah.
Problem can be solved. We have to pay a price. For every solution, there is a price to be paid.
And everyone has to pay that,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
For something.
I like to bring it to your attention so that you can tell all your patients. In Sanskrit, there is a beautiful terminology, swasthya. Means generally it is taken as health. True in one sense, when you consider health as an overall phenomena of harmony between body, mind and soul. Okay. When mind is compromised, it is one sort of trait. When body is compromised, because it's not healing for because whatever reasons, it has its own traits. But both, especially the bodily ones, you can, to a large extent, remove it through the modern medications that we are having. Mental thing, it's a challenge. Okay. The root behind the mental problems, as you say, karma. But then many other things also play part in this whole equation. It's not individual karma from the past. I have the ability to change my destiny. Though my destiny today is governed, let us see, 60% by my karmas or by my samskaras. But I still have greater amount of freedom to change my destiny as well. Okay. If I am allergic to certain food, okay, is it because of my karma? Perhaps. Even if it is, what are you going to do about it? See, there are ways and means how to improve our reaction to the food that we take, behavior that we have. One behavioral thing that impacts a disease, which immediately shows up, people having psoriasis, when they're depressed, when they're angry, when they're irritable, it flares up. You know, in this skin disease, psoriasis, it flares up because of such changes at a mental level.
Yeah.
In turn, psoriasis and lung disease are also correlated. Right? I've seen over the years of observing myself, okay, when I'm angry, when I'm irritated, when I'm grateful, when I'm extremely in a extreme state of meditation, when I'm so absorbed. And when you observe the breathing pattern all this time, it's so beautiful. You can mark the differences. When you're angry, you can see your breath is gone haywire. Per contra, when you're in extreme state of meditativeness, it is different. When you are in such a state all the time, imagine what happens to this breathing problem. What happens to the psoriasis? They subside very fast. Allergic reaction to external things subsides very quickly. There are many good studies done recently. Papers are not published as yet because this research is still going on, but we have found so far heartfulness meditation with transmission has reduced greatly, over 40%, extent to which one would have nausea after chemo. Nausea is vomiting is the number one complaint.
Correct.
After chemo. But if person is exposed to heartfulness, relaxation, and meditation with transmission, it changes everything.
Yeah, we've seen that. And we've not seen it. The oncologists have told us that. And the
Can
patients who meditate, they walk out happy, they come in with energy, that even the other patients are like, how come they're not suffering? Is their question about that. We've already seen that. That's amazing.
So since you have mentioned the idea that they are having such a dreadful disease, right?
Yeah.
And yet they are not troubled. They have accepted. Acceptance is the key.
Yeah.
And when you accept what you are going through, okay, fine. Now let me do what I can do.
Right.
Whatever is in my hands. First thing would be really good to help ourselves to go deeper within ourselves, to center ourselves. Swasthya actually means that. Swa means the self, and astya to stay.
Okay.
Stay within the self. Now, to whom are you considering as the self? Is your body the self, or is your mind the self, or your causal body, which is the soul, that is the self? If you remain focused on the body and say, oh, I am feeling this, I am feeling that, good. We need to take care of that part. But by focusing on the periphery of the system, you are only increasing the imbalance. You think of this thing as an entire system as a wheel. The center as the soul. In the middle there is a subtle body. The periphery as our manifested body. If you pay too much attention to the periphery, the whole wheel will go wobble. But if you pay attention to the center and increase the force at the center of your attention, then it doesn't matter what happens around the rim, you are settled in the center. To such a person, I have seen it, or In many people in this organization, especially when they meditate, they may be suffering because of whatever situation, financial situation, emotional situation. We all go through all these things, family problems,
Right.
right? The crisis can haunt you. They are always haunting us, health-wise also. But person who is settled within because of who he is, and that person has become who he is by his daily routine of things that he has embraced in his life, meditation or no meditation. But with meditation, you become more center focused. You are settled in yourself, swastya. Peripheral differences, peripheral storm will not affect you.
Right.
So meditation does prepare us in a smart way. But meditating on a problem can destabilize oneself. Meditating on a good thing is different. Meditating on a problem will only make it worse.
Just like where you put your attention
Very-
towards. Yeah. I want to go back one point because it brings up a question that, brings up a scenario that I experience all the time. I've realized, nutrition, people get on diets, there are fad diets, there are fad exercise programs, everything is extremes in today's world, ketogenic diets and all of these things. People have moved away from simplicity. Okay, I always compare, I always look at the life of farmers. Okay, I look at farmers working in the field. I've spoken to so many of them. The women are slender, tall, healthy, robust, except for the ones who are sick, of course. The men are ripped. They don't go to gyms. They don't drink protein shakes. Their food is minimal, carb-based. What grows, they eat. I mean, that's nature showing you. You don't need to read a magazine written by a doctor or nutritionist saying that this protein will build your body. It's clear. It's, it's a product sale or you're enhancing a diet. So there are fads that exist in the world. I'm noticing that spirituality today is also becoming a fad in a way that people are making it a fad. It's not a fad. So people jump from one chanting class to another, one meditation class to another, and yet they seem more unsettled than ever before. So what I see is that what they've learned in their meditation, they fail to apply. They don't learn to apply it in so if I've learned to meditate in this morning today and my intention for the day is not to react but to respond, it's great, it's an intention. But the moment I get into a situation, I'm reacting, I'm not responding. So I feel that, people have a to-do list and meditation done, exercise done, organic shopping done. They're just following a list. But they're not applying, they're not able to apply it. Now, people who are sick, they get the opportunity to apply it because they realize that, okay, my chemo cycle's coming up. I'm going to visualize and I'm going to meditate and do it differently today. How do you see us bridging this gap and getting people to start applying? Is it routine? Is it discipline? Is there a technique that, we can get people to really apply so that they get the true benefit of this in their lifetime? Whether it's spirituality, whether it's nutrition.
I find, let's imagine a scenario. Okay, the day you come home early from work and say, I'm going to go to sleep early. The moment I hit the bed, I must be gone. When you desire the most, it runs away. You try your best, I want to sleep early. It doesn't happen. People who meditate also, they say, today I'm going to go off. The moment I close my eyes, I must be at a super consciousness state of samadhi. It doesn't happen. More you chase, faster it runs away from you. You have to relax all your efforts first.
Okay.
Second thing, do you have interest? That's even more crucial than the first one. If you have the interest, then you don't need to use willpower.
True.
Huh? You don't have to struggle. You don't have to put alarm clock. Interest creates everything. On your first date, did you have to put alarm? Visit your girlfriend, she's waiting at this time. You didn't have to put alarm clock. To a child, do you say, my dear child, use your willpower and have your ice cream? Doesn't have to use willpower. When you have interest, everything happens beautifully. Are you interested in your health? Okay, if you're interested, you have this. But the problem starts, but I don't like to meditate. I'm interested in my health, but I don't like to meditate. What do I do? I'm interested in my health, but I will not take chemo. I'm interested in my health, but I will not go see this doctor. I'm interested in my health, but I will not take these foods. I'm happy with whatever I'm eating. Well, if you have this attitude, not even God can help you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you write beautifully in your book about intention. I'm a firm believer of intention. You either start your day off with the right intentions, no intention, or the wrong intention, and your day flows that way. So, what would you have to say about intention, setting intentions when it comes to healing or prevention, or just living a good life or feeling good about yourself?
When we have to make use of intentions as far as health is concerned, to think oneself as healthy is good. To think oneself to be better than yesterday is good. And looking forward positively that yes, I can cross this river. I can do it. This positive feeling helps. Per contra, you think, oh my God, I can't do this. I will not do this. It's impossible. It's not for me. Right from the beginning, you have denied the change that can happen in you. We have a choice. Either you say, I'm not going to do it because I can't do it and I don't like this, versus, oh, I can make a difference to my health. I will do this. This seems interesting. Let me try this at least. Give a advantage to your doubt. Okay, I may not like to do this, may not be capable of doing this, but let me try. Maybe let me see what happens.
Right.
Instead of eating bread, let me eat this. See, if this food habits which is prescribed to me is helpful, there is nothing wrong as far as it's going to improve my health. And you're not talking to a street person who says eat this and eat that. You're talking to a professional.
Right.
But often there is a topsy-turvy thing, and here invertendo, it's so sad. When a restaurant person who wants to promote a particular dish to his advantage, because if it stays in the restaurant for another 2 hours, it will get spoiled. People get mesmerized by their, oh, lovely dish, please have this. It's the special recipe of the day. Versus a person who says, oh, this prescription for food is there. My doctor, who is my nutritionist, has prescribed these foods. But people, they take it with so much of pessimism, so much of doubts, but they surrender to the waiter in the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy, you see. Once you're paying a fees to a doctor, you're paying a fees to a therapist, have a trust, have a faith. It's only food. It's not going to kill you. It's not something of a poison-like thing. It's worth trying. It's only food. How can it harm you? Right? Secondly, meditation. How can it harm you either? In the worst scenario, you have wasted 10 minutes of your time every day. Do you worry about 10 minutes of the time when you read some crazy magazine or go through some unnecessary FaceTime or Facebook or Twitter?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Anyway, I think this discussion can go on and on and on.
I have like hundreds of points that I'd love to just talk to you about, but no, it's amazing. Can I ask you one last thing? Just discuss one last thing. So when it comes to discipline, because, today, I've been through all phases of my life where my parents instilled discipline and they they said discipline is the way forward. Of course, at that point, we had no choice but to listen to them. And as we rebelled against it, like any child will do. But today I'm doing a full circle in life where I'm coming back to discipline and routine. And I have, I work with some of the soldiers in the veteran program in the US who have come back with, disturbance in their mind and, depression, and all of them say that all the new programs which has robbed the armies of discipline. Before, everything was discipline. You have a problem, deal with it. Over, move on. Today it's like there'll be a counselor who will get into the problem, and like you said, where you put your focus, it only grows. So that emotional, distress grows more and more. Finally, where, the system is not complete, they come back or they're shipped back because they're depressed. And then some of them create crime, some of them commit suicide and all of these things. And they only say that if it went back to what it was, which means discipline and routine, we wouldn't have been in this whole post-war trauma situations and stuff like that. So what's your take? Because it's something that's really close in my heart to start getting people to instill discipline again in their lives and in their kids.
I think you have not asked me one question. You have put million questions in this.
Discipline and routine when it comes to meditation.
So when you gave me the example of war veterans, it's a very sad situation.
Yeah.
My heart goes out for them. But one thing for sure, we're waging wars to create peace. One last war to end all the wars. It doesn't happen.
Right.
To create a discipline, one has to see what is at the end of the process. Carrot has to be given. Right? One boy came to me many years back. It was 2013. He was not interested in studies at all. He said, I'm fed up of my studies. I don't want to study, and I give up. I'm fed up. Parents were crying, so emotional. And he had to clear the 12th exams, right? Parents were pressurizing, you must get 90 plus. We don't have money to pay for private colleges. Competition is also governed by this class of students and that caste of students and economically backed. So the government also doesn't support if you have a certain surname. If you have a certain surname, but economically your father may be a millionaire, but you need a lower percentage, you'll get the admission. It's a tricky situation in India. Children are under tension because of all these things. But anyway, to cut the story short, what motivated him after our discussion was this. I asked him, forget your study part at the moment. Tell me, which car do you like? He said, I love Fiat. I said, Fiat of India or Italy? He said, I like a sports car from Italy, Fiat. Okay. Which is to him better than BMW and Mercedes. I said, great. How much does it cost, my boy? He said, it's about 3.5 crores. I said, great. Stop studying, great. How will you get 3.5 crores to get the car? He started thinking, see. I say, if you drop studies, you will not be in a position to even buy a bicycle. Today's world, if you need a job, if you find a job, first of all, you need a good education. Otherwise, you'll be surrounded by beautiful Fiats and Mercedes and BMWs, but you'll be a driver there. That woke him up a little bit, and glad he is right now clearing his IIT.
Wow.
See? Students, discipline. A person who is following a spiritual path, discipline. A guy who is going to a gym, discipline. Everywhere, discipline is necessary. Today I go to a gym and say, okay, I'm going to a gym, but I will skip lifting weights. a successful bodybuilder is, he's able to move from 5 kg to 50 kg in short time. If he doesn't, if you don't succumb, if you don't rather accept this resistance, the challenge, then muscles are not working. They will not build. Moment you say, okay, 10 kg today, 2 kg tomorrow, 1 kg, half kg, and no kg, your muscles will
Correct.
they will deteriorate over a period of time. They are not challenged. So discipline is a challenge. But when we see the result or outcome of it, when you do it with joy, then the blow of discipline is not there, because now you see the end result. Imagine a yogi, day after day he meditates, but the carrot that he is dreaming to acquire is not there. Good meditation means how well you have gone deeper in yourself, how well you have forgotten yourself, how well you have remembered the Lord or have got absorbed in the Lord. If these things are lacking, if day after day your experience is deteriorating, then why would you meditate? At every process in this world, you need a carrot. First see the carrot and let that move you. Later on, the reaction changes, protocols change. Later on, you do it not to acquire anything. In your younger days, when the romance is there, oh, I love her, oh, I love her. I love her too. There is no end to this nonsense. Later on, when you settle with the person you truly love, you stop looking around. And a higher stage also comes when you are loving for the sake of love, because this one person has trained you now to love everything. That's why heartfulness recommends family life, that where your efforts are challenged, your emotions are challenged, everything about you and your love is challenged. Then we learn slowly, oh, now it is love for the sake of love, not for individuals, not for any things or objects or any fulfillment, emotional or spiritual. Love for the sake of love. Then you don't need discipline. You have arrived home. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.